Hey there, thanks for taking a look at this World of Tanks video, and thanks for playing World of Tanks. I think some of the stuff that's hardest to figure out about playing World of Tanks, especially when you're bottom tier, is when and how to be aggressive, and especially how to do those things safely, how to do that safely. So right off the bat here, I noticed that we don't have any light tanks, and we don't have any sort of scouting medium tanks, at least not right away. Driving into the middle of the map, this is one of those. A lot of the open field maps in World of Tanks have kind of this central ridge or crest that kind of bifurcates the two starting points. The two teams can kind of run up to the center part of the highest part of the crest and kind of peek over at each other and sometimes get shots at one another. I didn't see anybody doing that right away. Of course, by this point I have a medium tank driving in front of me. So I decided, as a bottom tier, more or less mobile vehicle, mobile heavy, I would sort of take that role upon myself. Also, I've got what really is more of a light tank kind of a crew in here right now. I don't really have a good American heavy tank crew right now. So right now I'm not getting real close to the enemy vehicles because I don't have the mobility necessary to like back up real quickly, or to rotate my hull real quickly, and to accelerate to a high speed really quickly and get out of danger. So I'm just mainly making sure that I'm not in danger. And I'm keeping an eye on any possible sources of danger, possible threats, keeping an eye on those things well ahead of time, when they're really far away, and making sure that I have plenty of time to get away if they start getting closer. So you see, I'm using this vehicle's really good front turret armor and kind of peeking over these this hill here to get some shots on the enemy vehicles in the town. And there are quite a few of them. They're definitely, if you look in the minimap, they're definitely dominating the town. Alright, so you notice more or less right after I take these shots, I'm backing up and just generally making sure that if they have a shot on me at all, it's at the front of my turret. And watching the minimap, making sure those mediums in the middle, the enemy mediums in the middle, are not pushing over that central line into my position and threatening me, making sure that if there's any possibility of that at all, that I'm getting out of the way as early as I can. And there you go, you see, not really giving them a shot other than maybe the front of my turret, and that's not really much of a shot. Really tough front turret. Now here we have two vehicles left in the town. I'm thinking this is the time for me to relocate, because their next move is going to be either toward my position or toward our capture circle, or both. Either way, my position is about to become really vulnerable, really threatened by the enemy vehicles. So I'm rotating as fast as I can and just driving straight away. And I know, just due to familiarity with this map, that this is a really good kind of in the G3 area, more or less at this point in time, is going to be a high position that allows me opportunities for cover in different directions. Allows me the chance to kind of move into the central areas of the map. So I'm able to have an influence over a lot of different portions of the map, and again, maintain cover and things like that. I've got allies behind me or to my sides. That's another factor. And so moving forward here, as much as I can, I want to be threatening with my gun the enemy vehicles. I want to be using those ridge lines as much as I can, so that I'm using the front turret and the gun depression, and give those shots, make sure that the enemy vehicles only really have shots on the front of my turret. And again, as long as I'm able to safely stay in the center part of the map, kind of the central ridgeline with these buildings and the street, then I'm able to have shots toward the enemy spawn, and I'm also able to have shots toward our own spawn more or less pretty easily. You know, for example, here I am shooting toward the enemy spawn, if you will, after having quickly relocated from firing on our own spawn. Here I'm being targeted up, and something does hit the side of my turret. Pretty sure, given the positions and the amount of damage it was dealt, it was an IS-7. Be coming into my view range here shortly. It's just to my right there, I'm not really looking at it. But again, I'm taking shots, backing up. So that as I'm reloading, the enemy vehicles don't really have, well, they have as little shot on me as possible, little target, as small of a target on my vehicle as possible. And here, watching the mini-map and seeing that this heavy took out one of our guys, I think, down there, and is now kind of pushing into my allies' position. So what I'm trying to do is use the terrain here, stay low, stay more or less undetected, and certainly out of sight and out of fire for that heavy. And as he's engaged with my allies, I'm trying to use my vehicle's relative mobility and perhaps threaten a side shot on this E5. There you see my allies lit on fire for a little bit. So here as I approach this Waffenträger, you see how my gun is just above the ground level as I'm lining up a shot on that vehicle. That's an example of how you basically you stay hull down. You just have your gun just barely above the line of sight, line of fire. And so that if that enemy were to have, say, taken a shot at me or aimed the gun at me or whatever, the only part of my vehicle that would have most likely been visible would have been the front of the turret. So a lot of the gun mantlet in this vehicle, maybe some of the kind of the side cheeks, if you will, of the turret, and then the commander's cupola. Generally speaking, on a lot of heavy tanks, it's pretty tough armor to penetrate. In most vehicles in general, it's like the strongest part of the armor, the strongest part of the vehicle, especially if you have a hold down position where you're able to use some gun depression. Makes that the front of the turret's pretty tough to touch. And so here I'm just kind of creeping around here, I'm making sure that I'm staying safe, kind of using the rock, using those bushes, as opposed to just kind of flying out of the middle of the map full speed in the wide open and giving that guy a easy shot or two on me. And you see also with using the positions of my allies so that we're not all coming in from the exact same position, so that we're coming in at different angles. That way if one of us has a shot on the front armor, somebody else has likely has shot on the side armor. So anyway, just some examples, some fair gameplay here of kind of staying aggressive, maintaining a relatively threatening position on the enemy vehicles, while also making sure that I'm, generally speaking, pretty safe a lot of the time. Well, if you have any comments, I'd love to read some. Have any ideas about how the gameplay here could have been made more effective? Love to see some of those thoughts. Otherwise, thanks for taking a look at this World of Tanks video, and thanks for playing World of Tanks.